Welcome to Fertility Talks. I'm your host, Mary Wong, author of Pathways to Pregnancy, founder and director of Alive Holistic Health, one of North America's leading wellness clinics, and I am your acupuncturist and fertility strategist. Tonight, I am super excited to have our guest with us, who is Janet Harbick. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm super thrilled to have you here because we are dealing with a topic that might be a little uncomfortable. We are talking about fertility. And, as we know, there are myriad of ways of creating a family and building a family. And one of the ways that is not discussed very often is actually about surrogacy. And the reason why I'm really honored to have you here is because you have not just only been a surrogate one time, but you've done it 3 times, which is like mind-boggling to me. I just have to say. So, like in my books, you are like a walking superhero. So thank you for being here. All right. So I have like so many questions for you because of course, I guess first we're going to start with how we met. And you came to Alive Holistic Health not as a patient. You were there to support someone else, right? Can you tell us about how we met? Do you remember that?
I do, actually. So I just went with a fellow surrogate. We were on our way to create fertility for her to do her transfer. And we just started talking, and it just happened to be that, it came about, and here we are now.
Yeah. And I love it. Like, I loved it that not only are you a surrogate, but you're supporting other women doing surrogacy. Because was that her first time? Do you remember?
From what I recall, I believe she did have some failed transfer previously.
Right. So, okay. So she had a failed transfer, and then it's like, I need support because it's even for surrogates, it's a tough road.
Oh, absolutely.
Too, sometimes.
Absolutely.
Right? So we'll speak more to it. But I guess, coming at it from an outsider, it's like, I think we need to look at, what is surrogacy? Who the heck are these surrogates? Well, you're one of them. So that's really kind of cool. Oops, my dog, I have a little puppy, just so you know, she just kind of attacked me in a loving way. And you might meet her later. That's my second baby. And we want to know, like, who are they, which is someone like you, and what the process is, why someone want to do this. So let's start with, well, I guess you, right? Because who are these surrogates? Well, you are one of them. So tell us who you are.
I'm, just your average person. I'm a mom. I've got 5 kids of my own. I work a full-time job. I'm married, got a husband of 10 years. And yeah, it's just, when I actually signed up for this, I wasn't even working. So, it's just people from all aspects come into this. So it's really, I'm just your average person.
But why did you, well, you can say average person. I'll tell you, no matter what, if I have 5 kids, I am not going to go and get pregnant for someone else. I'm sorry. I'm like, you are it's so altruistic. And for people that do not know, surrogacy, I mean, it's illegal to take money for it, right? Isn't that right?
Absolutely. So in Canada, we are not allowed to be paid for surrogacy. We only get reimbursed and for pregnancy related expenses, and you must have a receipt to prove the expense. So if you don't have a receipt, you do not get reimbursed for it.
So why do you do it? I mean, I guess the first line of thinking is, well, you must do it for the money, but there's no money.
There's no money. So I do it because it helps people have families who couldn't otherwise do so. So it's being able to know that these other people have the opportunity to experience what I have. Being a mom, wonderful. I'm sure my husband will say being a father is great. So it's, I just want to help others around that can't do that on their own.
For sure. So then, how did you know to even become, like, what made you interested? Like, how did you even search it out?
Actually, a friend of the family had done it. And, my husband and I, we talked about it. And, it wasn't the right time for us. And then a couple of years later, we were discussing it again. And, I want another baby. So my tubes are tied. I don't really want a baby. I have 5 kids, plenty. So, and he's like, well, why don't you look into surrogacy then? I'm like, okay, like, because now
He
we're
said
at a good
that?
time. He sure did. So,
Wow.
yeah. So it was, so we talked about it. And the very next day, lo and behold, an ad for CFC popped up on Facebook.
So
So
what is CFC?
Canadian Fertility Consulting. Yes.
Right.
Yep. So that
Oh,
popped up and I'm like, oh, this has got to be a sign. This is meant to be. So I filled out the forms and within a week I was already matched.
wow, that's so insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so then take us through the process, because again, so, I guess one is like, why would someone have surrogacy? And then
Yeah.
second, what is the process involved? Because of course, anyone that doesn't know and maybe possibly going down that road, there's just a lot of unknowns. So it'd be really
Of
great
course.
to cover that.
Yeah. So the people who come to surrogacy are, have
Oh, you
fertility
just cut
issues of
out
their
for a
own.
second.
Oh, sorry. So I
That's
was saying,
okay. So they have fertility issues of their
yes,
own.
usually have
Okay.
fertility issues of their own. They could be um, just their sexual orientation. We have a whole bunch of same-sex couples that come in. They're actually the majority of our intended parents. There's women that unfortunately have had like uterine cancer or just medical issues that have led to infertility. Just different meds that they're on that could cause problems later down the road during the pregnancy. So really, there's just anybody can really come to surrogacy as long as you want to. This is for people who want a child of um, their own
Right.
genetics. So,
Right.
there is a question, well, why don't they just adopt? Because you know what? Lots of IPs have looked into adopting, and sadly, it's a lot longer and a lot harder of a process in other countries.
Well, and I will attest to that, because actually, when I was going through my fertility journey, we did look, no, we didn't just look into it. We went through the whole procedure. It took us almost a year.
Yep.
And when we finally got on that list for adoption in China, what occurred was they had changed the rules at the time. And going from 2 years, it became 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So it was quite disheartening to think,
Oh,
gosh, because people will say, you have a fertility issue, oh, just adopt. And it's not just
it's
adopt, because
no,
it's a
it's not.
whole different process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
loved it that you mentioned that. So, and of course, it's a great and viable way of doing it for sure.
Yeah.
I just, changed I redirected after this, and I
Yeah.
went back into the whole IVF process. But for some people who, as you have mentioned, have had, physical issues that have them not be able to carry a baby, whether it is a technical issue being 2 men versus,
Yep.
a woman who's had some, um, uh, post-cancer treatments that does not allow them to have or be able to carry to term, then, it is a solid option,
Absolutely.
right? So now you just mentioned CFC. So tell us, like, of course, just starting out, for someone that is thinking about it, it's like, where the heck do you go? Like, do you find, like, is it going through a fertility clinic? Is it going to a fertility counselor? Are you looking on Craigslist? Like, how the heck do you find a surrogate?
We've got, like, I work for CFC and we've got ads up. Like, a lot of our surrogates come in through Facebook. So, oh,
Wow.
yeah, through Facebook, through Instagram. there's like, we've got all these different platforms that we advertise on. So, and that's just, people that want to do this, they know how to find this stuff. I don't know how, they
Wow.
just know how
Okay.
to find it.
Right. Okay. But it isn't just like, oh, I'm just going to go find someone on the street. And
No, actually, no, some, you know what? Some intended parents, they will do it outside of an agency, absolutely. And they will look into family to help be a surrogate. They will look into friends. Like, there's so many different options. So, but a
yes.
lot of them, once, there's some that they just can't, they just are having issues succeeding
Right.
that route.
Right. You know what?
That they
And that
come
of
to the
course
agency.
thank you. And of course, I remember not that long ago where there was on the news where the mother, a menopausal mother, was carrying the child of the daughter,
Yep.
right? The child for the daughter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or, again, back to my own personal story, two of my friends that didn't really understand what was wrong with our scenario offered to be surrogates. And I thought, that's so kind, but that's actually not my problem. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Right. So, when people don't get it, they don't get it, but
No,
because
exactly.
they just haven't been through it. So they don't understand, but there are
Yep.
certain times where, yeah, that's a good viable option. So then going back to
Yeah.
why someone like you would choose to do this, like for you, what was that
Just
when
to
you,
help these people create families. I wanted them to be able to experience what I experienced, what I am experiencing, because being a parent is it's an incredible feeling. There's so much to it, and just knowing that there are people out there that can't experience that on their own is kind of heartbreaking. Like,
yes, of course.
yeah. So it's like, we want to be able to help.
So then tell me about what your pregnancy was like, or your pregnancies, because again, you've had 5 pregnancies of your own kids.
Yeah.
And of course, anybody with fertility challenges are like super jealous, just so you know.
Yeah.
And then, carrying 3 other couples' babies. You've done that. So you've already had 8 pregnancies to live births,
I
all
have.
vaginal births, right?
Yes, they were. Every
So
single one.
crazy.
So,
Like,
although some of them were epidural, did have
okay,
only half of them though.
no
So
judgment, no judgment. I mean, it's like I'm in awe of what you've done and of what you've accomplished and how you contribute. And I'm in more of an awe because I'm reminded that you did not have the perfect pregnancies.
I didn't. I was sick through all my pregnancies. Where I felt like the toilet was my best friend day in and day out. And, it's just crazy. People say morning sickness. Let me tell you, it's all day sickness, all night sickness.
For
Um, you
you,
know,
for you.
for me, oh yeah, for me,
Yes.
yes. So, I mean,
Not
the
everybody.
heartburn, no, not everybody. Nope. There are some very lucky people out there that go through pregnancy without any of the bad symptoms. So, I mean, like, the heartburn is crazy.
Okay.
Yes, like the first couple of my own, like, you don't notice the heartburn till the end, but the last couple surrogacy journeys, the heartburn starts like almost instantly, and it's
Wow.
tums and drinking all your milk, and just so much stuff trying to keep that down. Like, I had GD with the last 2 of them, so gestational diabetes, which is another,
Wow.
pregnancy related issue, but it was all controlled with diet. There's just the aching feeling of the whole time, and the not being able to breathe because the baby's right up inside your ribs, and it's just the nausea. That's another one. It's just what's not just being sick, it's actual nausea. And
Right.
that
Right.
makes you dizzy, and you know what I mean? And so it's none of my journeys were good, but
And so
it
it's
was worth it.
amazing, right? So to be unwell for 9 months,
Yeah.
to create a little life for someone else, that's pretty profound. And, that you want to do that, like through
Yeah.
suffering,
Oh, you know what?
right?
Yeah, because seeing their faces the moment that they see their baby for the first time is it's everything. Like that
Right.
alone is makes me want to do it over and over again, because you can see that joy in their eyes, right? And you can see all that love that they have, just no just seeing their child, like, oh my god, like this is my baby. And they've you just don't experience anything like that. Like,
So what's so then let's take us through that in
okay,
terms of, so when you see them, that means you're having a relationship with them. So I guess for the viewers out there too, it's like, well, do you actually have a relationship with them, or can you be completely discreet? Like, take us through that process.
okay. So it's, you could have both ways. Um, every journey is different. You could have surrogates and IPs that don't want the communication afterwards. Like, of course, you're going to be communicating throughout the journey, because they're going to want to know, what's going on with the baby and stuff like that. But afterwards, sometimes, they're like, okay, that's all the communication we want. I don't want any updates, that's it. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. And then we've got IPs and surrogates who become like family, and they stay
Right.
connected all the time. So, and again, that's fine as well. So, like I said, every journey is different. It all depends on what the intended parents and the surrogate want.
Right. And for the three that you've done, so that's three separate families,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
And are you in touch with them?
I am. And I love them all like they're my family. So they, I hope they feel the same way. No,
And
I still talk to all of them. Have three beautiful little girls for them. Like, of course, all girls.
wow.
um, yeah, it's great. I get updates. They send me photos. Um, the first couple that I cared for, I'm actually just started the process. I started meds on Saturday, and I'm going to be
Oh my
transferring.
goodness.
Yes, hopefully I'll be transferring mid-March. So for a sibling for
Wow.
them. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, I mean, we're learning about who you are, but what other
Yeah.
type of people will gravitate towards becoming a surrogate? Like, are there other stories than what you're saying? Like, because you are in touch with these potential surrogates, and how do you vet them? Like, how do we know they're not like drug addicts, or how do we know that they're not going to, like, how do we guarantee that the surrogates will not put the unborn child in any kind of harm?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we can't control what happens after they come in. Um, when they come in, we do have a criteria. You have to be between the ages of 21 and 45. You had to have had your own live birth, healthy BMI, a non-smoker, non-drinker. You can't be doing any drugs. Um, but we don't know if the surrogate's lying to us or not. You know what I mean? So, but they have to go through counseling, and they have to go through medical screening.
Okay.
So they don't just, if, the doctors will find out if, they are a drug addict or whatever, and then they won't be able to proceed. So, but I mean, we do our hardest to try to make sure that these surrogates are like incredible people, right? Um,
Yes.
yeah, and
Yes.
we make sure to do criminal checks on them when they come in. So it's not like we just take off random people off the streets. They do have to pass, certain criteria and stuff.
Sure. And of course, we'll add in there then that there is always lawyers' involvement. You're
Absolutely.
drafting papers for sure, just to
Yes,
make sure that
absolutely.
everything's lined up, right?
Yep. So you have the surrogates have their lawyer, and the intended parents have their lawyer.
Oh, okay. So it's two separate. And I'll
Yeah.
have to vouch for you in what you say because I've met personally and our clinicians at our clinic at Alive have met multiple surrogate mothers,
Yeah.
and they've all been lovely, right?
Yeah.
To do their acupuncture before and after the embryo transfers. And by the way, for you, if you haven't, during your pregnancy, you should actually be getting acupuncture because that will help with the pregnancy symptoms.
Oh, see, I've never done. I've only done the acupuncture prior to my transfer for all three journeys. So I've never
Yes.
done it
So
during.
absolutely. So you might want to talk to the intended parents about that because to me, I'm like, why should you be suffering? I mean, last week, a lady actually emailed me and said, Mary, when you did your acupuncture, I stopped altogether having nausea. I said,
Oh my
don't
goodness.
worry, it's going to come back. But it caused fear in her because it's like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it works so well. Does that mean I'm not pregnant? And certainly that was not the
Oh,
case.
yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad that wasn't the case.
Right. No, no, for sure. But the whole point is that I
Yeah.
don't think that anyone needs to suffer during pregnancy. I know we're
Yeah.
kind of getting off topic, but if you are the surrogate, then let's help you help them as well
Yeah.
in a better way. I'm sure they want you to feel well too.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of intended parents, then actually, and because we do see these surrogates, I find that some surrogates are traveling really far to get to the fertility clinic to do the transfers. And then the other thing is, I find that the intended parents can also live very far, like
Yes,
way out of country, for example, right?
absolutely. So we have intended parents coming from all over the world. Um, Australia, China, France, Spain, you know, you name it, they come from there. Uh, our surrogates,
Why
though,
is
are
that?
only Canadian. Mostly because a lot of the places it is illegal to be a surrogate, to have for surrogacy in the countries,
Mhm.
or there's places where the same sex couples are unable to adopt as well because they are same sex. So they come here for that. But yeah, so they're just from everywhere. Like my
Right.
IP, my first one, my first set, they're from France. My second set they were from Argentina, living in Quebec. So they were close by per se. And my last set are from Calgary. So
Okay. So yeah,
yeah, and I
quite
mean,
distant.
yes, exactly. So I haven't done anybody close to home yet. Get that yet? No.
Gosh, I don't know how many more times you're going to do it. You're already going to go on four. So
As long
we'll
as the
see.
doctor keeps clearing me.
Wow, that's amazing. And maybe you'll be in the Guinness Book of World Records for surrogacy. I don't know.
I don't know. We actually have surrogates that have done it more than I have.
Wow,
Yeah. So it's
that to me is amazing. But again, it's a testament to, gosh, who you are. And, all of you that are doing this, we want to honor you and how you're creating families and giving life to these babies that would not possibly be without you.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
help with donors as well.
Right. Okay. So, and so in your case, then what you're telling us is that these are same-sex couples, but when
Yeah.
there are women that are having troubles and looking into surrogacy, they can be more local.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, for example, sorry.
Oops.
Oh, there you go. My alarm
Okay.
went off.
That's
For
okay.
example, today we had a surrogate match with intended parents who lived 5 minutes away from her. So it's,
Wow. That's
exactly.
crazy.
So sometimes they are really close. And yeah, it all just depends on what you're looking for. Like as a surrogate, you could have your criteria and, there's some surrogates who, okay, well, let's set up with somebody who's international. And then you've got some surrogates who are like, okay, I want somebody who's really close to me. So again, it's all just different for everybody. Like, nothing
Yes, of
is,
course.
yeah.
This is so awesome. All right. So basically, the whole bottom line is a surrogate woman
Yeah,
is normal,
absolutely. And a bit crazy sometimes.
normal and crazy. And you really do it from the goodness of your heart.
Absolutely.
And that it doesn't have to be scary in the process.
No, no. It's, a lot of people may think, oh my goodness, this is such a scary thing. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And you know what? There's always possibilities, but there's always these possibilities of things happening outside of surrogacy as well. So
Right.
it's not like it's just pertaining to surrogacy alone, you know. So I don't know, if you're worried about it and you're afraid to jump in, I say just do your research and get to know more about the process and just take the leap, just jump in, just if you feel it in your heart that this is what you want to do, then do it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
Well, I can even just think of like a woman who has had, 5 or 6 or 8 miscarriages and says, I think I'm done. Like I'm topped
Yeah.
up and I cannot handle another loss,
Yeah.
both physically, emotionally, spiritually, and they choose to do surrogacy for that reason. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many
Absolutely.
multitude of reasons, right?
Yeah.
And there's no one right way of doing things. And it's not like you are a failure, or it's not I don't see it as a giving up. I just look at resilience and how you create
Yes.
your family in a different and open and creative way. So
Exactly.
thank
So
you. And like, I really want to thank you for being here. And I think we should just close off by letting everyone know that I actually did interview you last year, and it was live on Instagram. It was my first time doing it, and I wasn't able to save it. So this has been a very enriching conversation. So it will be in Meet Mary Wong, and it will stay there on YouTube as an evergreen content. So you can go back to that. And if you haven't done so already, anything and everything all to do with fertility, you can find there's like 185 videos that I have on all things fertility. So you definitely
amazing.
need to check that out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and like it, share it, make a comment, and let me know what kind of topics you would want to cover, and we will definitely cover that. And just as a little side note, I'm super excited because City uh, City Line, which is a national TV program, they reached out to me from my fertility talks. But speaking outside of fertility, they'd asked me to do my easy peasy acupressure for sleeping. So you guys
Oh,
need to check that out live March 30th. And also we have Embrace You First. Like there's so many directions, but you know what? Just go to at Meet Mary Wong on Instagram as well. I have like on my link tree the different things to my podcast, to my YouTube, to our clinic at Alive. And so yeah, that's it. And oh my gosh, hello. I'm not the best self advocate here. Pick up my book, Pathways to Pregnancy, if you haven't done so, because again, as we just talked about, there's so many myriads of ways of creating and building your family. And I've seen people with lots of different conditions where they still overcome their challenges one way or another, myself included. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And like, subscribe, share, comment. Take care. Bye. Thank you so
bye.
much, Janet.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Oops.